Hi, my name is Leanna. I'm not a makeup artist by any means, but I am a makeup enthusiast, and as you can see, I have very pale skin. Not quite so pale as the door behind me, but getting there. And I'm making this video because while there are some very pale-skinned beauties on YouTube, I've found that a lot of them are still quite a bit darker than me, or they are very yellow toned, and I thought that this might be helpful for those of you who are very, very, very pasty like me, and a little bit on the pink side. And today what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be running through a very simple everyday tutorial for those of you who are in a rush and don't really feel like doing anything too advanced. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be using, this is a sample of the Estee Edit Pore Vanishing Stick. And so my face is already washed and moisturized, and this is just an itty bitty little sample. It's got sort of an inner core and then an outer core, and this is just going to smooth over my pores, which can be quite large in this area and a little bit right in the center of my forehead. So I just kind of pat and smooth the product. That's enough. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my two concealers. I have two of them here. This is the NYX HD Concealer in the palest shade, which is 01. I believe it's Porcelain. And this is kind of peach toned, and it's a little bit too dark for me still. And then I also have the Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer in the lightest shade Chantilly, which tiny bit too dark for me still, and that one's a bit more yellow toned. But I find if I do a really good job of blending, then nobody really notices the difference. So if you wear foundation, you can absolutely put that on first. I don't wear foundation because I don't like the way it feels on my skin, and I also don't find that I have too much to cover up. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to take the applicator and start dotting on over a few little areas of redness. Not really pimples. If you have pimples like whiteheads that are active, I wouldn't recommend that you go straight in with the applicator because you could be spreading the bacteria around your face. What you could do is you could put it on the back of your hand and go in with a brush and then clean your brush really well afterwards. I don't have a beauty sponge right now. I really liked the little purple one from Quo, but it's never in stock. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take this Eco Tools concealer brush. This was part of a 5-piece set that I got off of Amazon for about, I want to say $12. And it's not the best brush because I find that when it spreads the product around it goes kind of streaky, but that's okay. I just need to spread it around first, and then I'm going to blend it in with a different brush. And that's spread out enough now that I can go in with a second brush. This is the Real Techniques Expert Face Brush. I got this from Rimmel. I believe you can get them at Walmart, and you can also get them from Amazon. And this is a really nice, really soft brush. And it's affordable too. It was around $8 to $10. Cruelty-free. What I'm doing with this is I'm just buffing in downward motions the rest of the product so that blends in with my skin tone more and doesn't show up on my skin. And I do it in downward motions instead of swirling or going up and down, because I mean, everybody has a little bit of hair on their face, and if you do that, it can kind of lift the hair up. By doing this, you're just flattening the hair down as you go. And I have a scar running down my cheek here. I had stitches about 6 years ago. And what I do for that is I take a combination of my two concealers. And I sort of just blend it together with my finger. And finally, for my dark circles under here, with this camera quality you probably can't see them very well, but I do get really dark circles. They're purple toned. And I tried a yellow corrector one time, that just left me jaundiced. So the NYX is a little bit peach toned, which does help a little bit with color correcting, so I kind of put that right where I'm darkest. Spread that out with the Eco Tools brush first. And I'm almost kind of patting it, not spreading it. And then before it's all completely blended out, I go in with the Nars on top of that. And I do take it out a little bit to the side. I don't take it down like that, simply because it doesn't act as a highlighter like it does for many other individuals. So it would just leave me with weird colored triangles on my face. If you do like to highlight your under eye area, you could take a lighter concealer and go like that. And with the Real Techniques brush. Next, I'm going to take the NYX Smooth Skin Loose Powder, translucent powder. And I'm going to set the under eye with just this small angled face brush. This is by Sonia Kashuk. We don't get that in Canada anymore because it was sold at Target, but I'm sure you can find it online. And I'm just kind of tapping that under the eye to set my concealer so it doesn't crease. I'm also going to take that down the cheek where I put the bulk of my concealer, and around the nose, down my laugh lines, in the center of the forehead and chin. Next, I'm going to take my blush. This is the Makeup Forever HD Cream Blush in the shade 220. This is, as I said, it's a cream, and most people will tell you not to put a cream on top of a powder. I have never had a problem with putting this on top of a powder, but I also didn't bring my powder out this far. But even if I had, it's not an issue. This is what the shade looks like. It's a sort of I would describe it as a dusty peach. It's not a very pink blush, because really pink blushes can actually make pale-skinned people look like a little porcelain doll. It can be a little bit much. Peach blushes tend to look a lot better. And I'm just taking this like little itty bitty sponge, taking some of the product, and I'm like stamping it on my cheek, starting from the point where my scar starts and blending back kind of where my cheekbone starts and a little bit underneath that. So you can see how that just kind of gave a nice flush of color, very natural. Next I'm going to do my eyebrows. I usually use the NYX Micro Brow. I'm going to try the Essence Eyebrow Designer today, and this is in the shade 02 Brown. I'm not really liking this little comb. I usually start by combing my eyebrow hairs up. Anyway, this is just a basic pencil. It's not a small automatic pencil like the Micro Brow is, but let's give it a shot. And I just kind of, at the front of my brow, I kind of go up in little strokes. And as I start getting towards here, I start kind of going more horizontally because that's the direction that my hairs begin to grow. And then you want to comb it through again with the little brush or spoolie or whatever your pencil comes with. Yeah, I don't know about this. Not sure I like that. Yeah, I think it must just be the texture of the pencil just isn't performing the way I would like it to. And then when I brush it through with the comb, it's kind of taking away some of the product instead of spreading it through evenly. I don't know. I tried. Alright, I'm gonna prime my eyes. This is a little sampler of the Too Faced Shadow Insurance, which a lot of people love. I'm not crazy about it at this point. I'm just blending that out with a finger. You can always use a brush if you want to, but this is easy. I tend to have a lot of veins in my eyelids because my skin is very translucent, and I don't find that this provides any coverage in that respect. There are other primers that do, or even concealer. This just kind of sits there, and it has a very odd texture, which I'm not huge on. I'm going to take that little angled brush again by Sonia Kashuk, and I'm just going to grab this little Quo face powder. I'm not even sure that they sell this powder anymore. I'm just going to set my eyelids to make the eyeshadow easier to blend out. And you can always take an eyeshadow that's very similar to your face shade as well. So for an everyday look, I find that this is a really great palette. This is the Tartelette in Bloom palette, which I bought for myself shortly after my birthday. And these are the shades. There are 3 shimmer shades, the rest are matte. They're kind of separated by rows so that you can use each one as a quad, or you can just kind of like go around and do what you want. Today I'm going to do what I want. So I'm going to take, this shade is called Flower Child, and this is a very pale, kind of like a peachy brown, on a Kit eye crease shadow brush. This is from Rimmel, and I'm just going to start going into like the socket area, the crease, and going back and forth in windshield wiper motions to spread that evenly, and just begin to add a little bit of depth. The shade is so pale it may not show up on you if you're darker than I am, in which case you can always go one shade over with Smarty Pants. Such cute shade names, and they smell like vanilla. So what you want to do, you want to make sure that you tap off the excess, because these shades are very pigmented and they're very soft, which means they're going to kick up a lot of powder. And if you don't tap off your brush, that's going to end up all under here. If you have trouble finding your crease, kind of close your eyes, put a brush right in there, and then open. Where that fold is, that's your crease. And if when you open your eyes your crease disappears, you just kind of want to blend a little bit above that. And I find that holding the brush by the end of the handle here creates a much softer blend, so that when you're blending, it blends out all of those harsh lines in such a soft way. So that's enough of that shade for my liking. And today what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my Modern Renaissance palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills. Velvet. And this is what it looks like. Comes with a brush. There are 14 shades. Most of them are matte, and again there are 3 shimmers. And this is a little bit more of a warm toned palette, as you can see, and there are more like pink toned and red toned shades, but there's a little bit of cool toned and neutral shades in here too. And I'm going to take the shade Warm Taupe, which is down here, and I'm going to use the brush that came with the palette, the fluffy blending side, and again you want to tap off the excess. And I'm going to blend on top of that shade that I added before. This is just going to add a little bit more dimension than what we had going on before. I'm going to zoom you in a little bit more. There. Kind of looking down, that way your crease is visible while you're blending. And then if you look straight ahead, you can tell whether or not you need to blend up higher to make those colors visible. See? And I always like going back in with my previous brush. It has no extra product on it. And this one's just a little bit softer and fluffier. And this is just going to blend that out a little bit more. Again, you don't want those harsh lines. Also, if you go in circular motions like this is kind of going to blend up and out. Whereas going back and forth is just going to blend side to side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that same shade, Warm Taupe, on an Eco Tools eye shading brush, which is flat and kind of dense, and it's good for packing on color on the lid. And I'm just going to pack that into the outer V area here. What you can do is you can go back in with your blending brush and just kind of blend that in a bit. And then I'm taking a Real Techniques eye shading brush, which is much fluffier than the Eco Tools one, and I'm taking the shade Primavera, which is one of the shimmers. And you can wet your brush with like a setting spray or even just some water and it'll look much shinier, but I want it to be more of a subtle shimmer today because it's not going to be a super dramatic look. I'm going back to my Eco Tools brush for a moment. I'm going to grab the first shade Tempera, not Tempura, but Tempera, which is a matte cream shade, and I'm going to put that under my brow bone. Because even though there's a white shade in my Tartelette palette, I find that it doesn't show up on my skin tone. A white shade that doesn't show up on my skin tone. Isn't that kind of sad? But maybe you'll have better luck than I. I'm going to switch back to the Tartelette for a moment, and I'm going to grab that shade Funny Girl that I just mentioned on this very tiny Sonia Kashuk. And I'm going to put that in the inner corner just to brighten. And then I'm going to grab this mascara by Rimmel, Volume Colorist. It says it's supposed to tint your lashes over time. I haven't necessarily found that, but this is a really good drugstore mascara. It's the wand. It is very black, and it is not by any means waterproof. Any type of moisture will send it all over your face, probably because of those extra pigments. And what I kind of do with my mascara is I do like a little zigzag from the root and then pull up. I don't wear false lashes because the band and the glue bug my eyes. And you can see that just adds really nice amount of length and curl and definition, although my eyelashes are pretty long already. And then we'll go on to the lips. I have lip balm on, I'm just going to wipe that off. I'm going to zoom you out a little bit more. This is a little Sephora Nano lip liner in, what is it? Pure pink. This is pretty much the same shade as my lips. And today I'm going to put on this little mini Makeup Forever lipstick. This is the Rouge Artist Natural and N9. This is one of the Sephora birthday gifts. That's it. So this is a very simple, very appropriate look for many different places, occasions, whatever you have to do in your day. I hope you found it helpful, and I hope you have a good day. I'll see you next time.